Two. Okay, I'm back with the audio. Yeah, I tried to show the room, and when I switched on the second camera, I got the blue screen of death. So I quickly fired everything up, and I didn't set voice meter potato. I didn't have the volume turned up on that, so that's why you had no audio. And I've just been rabbiting on, and you had complete silence for the last 5 minutes. Never mind. Moving back, I'm not going to go over the update again, other than say that it's disappointing they're only working on one thing on VR, but at least they're working on the most important thing for VR as far as I'm concerned. So, the TBM 930, yeah, like I said, fantastic aircraft. I really like this one. The G3000, good. And an improvement mod. So, makes it a little bit more realistic on some of the settings, like the throttle and some other stuff. But it's just little tweaks. That's cool. Hardware. So my current hardware is a 1080 Ti, and I would love to upgrade it, except if I spent the sort of money that I'd need to spend, my wife would probably divorce me. So, but I've been reading up about them, and obviously, would I like a 3080 Ti? Too right, I would. However, the list price from Nvidia is £1,200. But they're a bit like rocking horsemen you are to get hold of at the moment. But they are fantastic machines. 24 gig of memory on board. Yes, turn all your settings up. They're currently going, if you can get your hands on one from one of the squatters on eBay or something like that, I've seen them go for about £2,000 at the moment, and I know someone who's got one, and it is amazing in VR. I would say though, if you are going to get one of these and you're not technically inclined, a word of warning: it's a waste of time me buying this card and put it in my machine. You really need the very latest processor, so you got to look at the 10th generation. You need a meaty power supply. This takes twice or 2.5 times the amount of power that my humble 1080 Ti takes. So you got to look at a 1000 watt power supply. So you need a 1000 watt power supply. You need a 10th generation processor, which means I need a new motherboard as well, and DDR4 memory running as fast as you can get. I mean, you're looking at a couple of grand on the motherboard and the processor, and then you're going to put another couple of grand in on the card. £4,000 to update my gaming PC. If I win the lottery, yeah. The good thing, if you want to, it is worth reading this article. It's quite a long article. It's about 10-15 pages. I'll put a link to it in the show notes below. It's an amazing card. It's absolutely stunning. And to stop the Bitcoin miners grabbing up all the stock, they've put some firmware in it that stops that functionality. So the bit miners can't use these cards anymore, so they can't gobble up all the cards. Not that they're any to be had for love nor money, and that's across the IT world in general. I mean, if you've been waiting for SATEC equipment, you've been waiting for the honeycomb stuff, chip shortages across the world. But this is a great article, and the guru of 3D. It's a very, very, very well written article, so I'll put a link to it. Have a look at that. And finally, before I move on to other things, FS2 Crew. Now, I used FS2 Crew on X-Plane for many years. When you're flying a heavy, trying to do everything as a one-man band, if you want to be realistic, and you're doing ATC, I mean, tuning the radios through takeoff while you're trying to trim the aircraft, get everything set up, and then ATC are asking you to change controllers. It's impossible to do everything, do all the overhead panels. So having a co-pilot, so FS2 Crew is a real easy one to use. There was another one I used with X-Plane and FSX back in the day. Can't remember what it was called, but that was very good, but it wasn't as good for FS2 Crew, except the other one worked on any aeroplane. FS2 Crew, you have to buy the version for the aeroplane you're flying. The good news is the price on this. The price is a humble $19, I think, something like that. So I really think I'm going to buy this. I was unhappy with the way their pricing schedules worked on X-Plane, but there's only one airliner worth flying at the moment, and that is this one, the fly-by-wire. Although, as I said in last week's show, there is a new A320 from Phoenix coming out, and I can't wait to get my hands on that. But this is voice controlled. You get a co-pilot. You can ask your co-pilot to go through the checklists, and yeah. So I think I will spend my pocket money this week on FS2 Crew. I will put links below. So while I'm online, let's get rid of that and let's go to here. If I go to the flight simulator and launch it, oh no, I didn't want to do that. Apps, and I want to go to flying, that one probably, and switch that on. Good. So I'm going to launch the simulator, and we'll turn that one off, turn that off, and just quickly go through my throttle settings and how to set up the reversers, etc., etc., on the Honeycomb. So the simulator's running. And while that's firing up, alright, no. My jingle machine. So there we go. There's the simulator. Let's plug my USB-C lead in. And I better make a note of the time on this one, so let's save me doing a second video. I was going to do a proper how-to on this. So get my levers out. So there were a couple of things that didn't work, and I managed to get them all working, and I'm very happy. So show you how to set up the throttles, the speed brakes, and the flaps. So I'm just putting a couple of levers in. By the way, 3D printers, I mentioned this several shows ago. If you've got a 3D printer, you can do, I'll show you this, a little flap gate, and that goes into the SATEC. So we've got this lift and drops in. So, little mod. If you didn't see it, look at one of the earlier shows. And so, how to set up the throttles and reversers for an Airbus. Like I said, for the stock aircraft, it works, but for the fly-by-wire A320, it doesn't work. Well, it does work, but there's a setting you have to do. But it's also worth going. It's worth going through how I set up the controllers. So you go into control options, and you go to your throttle quadrant. This is something I really wish they would change. I wish you could match the profile here to the aircraft the way you do in X-Plane. So I can have the same joystick with lots of different configurations for different aircraft. If I go from helicopter to GA to military, the joystick configuration changes and it automatically switches profile based on the aircraft. I hope they do something like that. Anyway, let's do power management throttle, and I will clear throttle 1 out. Clear, validate, just so you can see. Clear, validate. So what you're going to have to do is you go to your throttle quadrant, you filter all, and you scroll down and you're looking for throttle 1 0 to 100%. There are two throttles in here. There's the throttle 1 access and the throttle 1 0 to 100. You want the 0 to 100, you don't want this one. So I click on here and I start scanning and I move the throttle 1 lever. And there we go. Validate. Make sure you also tick that box, reverse the access. Now, to do the reversers, you want the throttle 1 decrease. And I want to use, pull it up so you can see it. On the Airbus, the reverser, you pull this lever up and then you go back. That detent is actually a switch, it's not part of the access, and there's a switch in here as well. So I want to activate both switches. So all you have to do is you start scanning, you pull the reverser lever up, and then I push past the detent with the throttle. Now I've got both set. You can't save it at this point. You actually have to put the throttle back and push the reverser down, and now I can save it by hitting validate. And that's it. So to go into reverse, I pull both of them up. I pull one up and go all the way back on the detent, and I've got the access. And that's it. And to prove it, apply and save. Go back, and let's load up the Airbus at EGKK. If I loaded the scenery, yes I have, gate 106, fly. So there is, I mentioned it last week, some brave person has done a pay-for version of Gatwick Airport. It is very, very good, and it is only £11, so it's worth having. However, the free version is mind-blowing, and it doesn't cost you a penny. So let's get into the aircraft anyway. because there's a setting in the aircraft that you also have to do. Ready to fly. So you go to the tablet and switch the tablet on. And then you're going to go to the settings, the cog down the bottom. And here you're going to go into sim options and detents. And you go to calibrate. And by default you have the reverser on the axis, and that's why when I pulled the axis back it went into reverser. We don't want that. And then you can see I'm going to move the lever up and down. Put it into the lowest position and hit the set from throttle. And that's it. Apply.
What do you want me to play?
Shut up, Alexa. And I would do it for the right throttle. In fact, now I've gone in and mucked around with that calibration, I better quickly do that. Second lever. Attach that. Set from throttle. Save and apply. Back. So I can prove that that's working by jumping down to the throttles. Could do with some lights, but never mind. So there's the throttles going forward and back, and for the reversers I pulled both levers up and pushed back past the detent, and then we've gone into full reverse. To come out of full reverse, push the reverser levers down and bring the levers back up. And there you go. So, I'm going to do another live flight on Tuesday. And if you want to try and join along, there's a Gripper. Look up Gripper on YouTube. He does online flying. Has got thousands of people following him, tens of thousands of people are following him. Irish guy, great sense of humour, very funny, and so I'm going to do an online flight, and you're free to join in if you want. Don't forget, send me a private message if you need any help, or use Discord. Until next week at the same time, I've got a radio program to knock out on my new Pirate Days radio station. I gave a link to it in last week's show. We're still doing some technical tests, and if you want to tune in and just listen to some classic music from the 60s, 70s and 80s, jingles from all the pirate ships, loads of adverts we've dug up from the archives and news items from the archives, some of them very amusing, none of them politically correct. Anyway, I'm not here to push that. I'm here to talk about flight sim. It's been good seeing you. I will catch you again soon. Until we meet again, as usual, enjoy your flying and take care of yourselves. A very